So we want to say good morning to Ambassador David Comissiong, Barbados Ambassador to Caricom. Ambassador, good morning to you.
Good morning, Pearson. Pleasure to be here.
Good to see you again. There is a lot to talk about, and I know once again Haiti's in the news, but there was a very special meeting held on the weekend. What can you report?
Yes, at the recent Heads of Government conference in Suriname, it was announced that Caricom was setting up a leadership group on Haiti that included the three countries that are on the Bureau of Caricom. That is Suriname, that is the current chair, Belize, the past chair, and Bahamas, the incoming chair next year. But also they added St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Jamaica, and Barbados to constitute that six-member leadership group on the issue of Haiti. So those prime ministers, those six prime ministers, held a special meeting on Friday to look at some critical developments pertaining to Haiti. One of those developments was the fact that the mandate of the United Nations office in Haiti was fast coming to an end. And there was some controversy in the UN Security Council as to whether that mandate would be extended. China in particular had some reservations about extending the mandate. So that precipitated the meeting. Also, the fact that over the past 10 days, 2 weeks, there has been a very serious upsurge of what we would call gang warfare in Haiti, in Port-au-Prince, the capital of Haiti in particular, and in a very massive working class slum area in Haiti called Cité Soleil. This is a community that houses some 300,000 people. You know, it's virtually the size of Barbados.
Yes.
And hundreds of people have had to flee from their homes, and there is a humanitarian crisis in Port-au-Prince as a result of this gang warfare. So these were the two pressing issues that necessitated the meeting. And the meeting, we then discovered that China was not so much refusing to extend the mandate of the UN office, which is something we wanted to see because we think the UN has to play a role in solving the crisis in Haiti, although the UN has not, truth be told, has not had a very good so far. But anyhow, what China was in fact saying was, look, we need to do more than just extend the mandate. We need to put a ban on the sale of arms, especially small guns, to Haiti. We need to put sanctions on people involved in corruption and gang violence and human rights abuses. We need to have a bigger role for CARICOM and other regional partners in solving this crisis. And they even went so far as to say that we need to have we need to send in a multinational police force into Haiti. So we got that better understanding of the China's position. Ultimately, the UN Security Council, with the agreement of China, which is a permanent member and has veto power. So China, there are 5 permanent members, and any one of them can veto any decision. So, but China went along, and the mandate of the UN office in Haiti has now been expanded. But CARICOM has also took some very important decisions on Friday, one of which is that we have to get involved in giving humanitarian assistance to the people who have been displaced by this gang violence. So we are now waiting on the administration in Haiti to tell us exactly what they want, and you're going to see a humanitarian drive across CARICOM to help. But also that we are going to establish 1 or 2 high-level special envoys on Haiti, and they're going to be engaged in, first of all, a virtual meeting with stakeholders across Haiti that will lead ultimately to a major face-to-face meeting, hopefully in the Bahamas, with a high-level political group from Caricom. So you're talking heads of government, so that Caricom is going to make a very serious effort to bring a political Haitian-led resolution to this crisis. The other good news is that Suriname, as chair of Caricom, hosted a meeting of international partners on Haiti and managed to raise some $298 million in commitments from the international partners. So we can only hope that these international entities follow through on these commitments to Haiti.
The situation in Haiti didn't start yesterday. As we say, it's going to take much more than yesterday really to resolve it. I know that already the work has begun, and that's good to hear that we're actually making significant move forward to help to bring some relief to the brothers and sisters there who look like us. But there are black people all over the world who are also being met with all sorts of problems, and particularly looking at the border between Spain and Morocco, where 23 and more people were defeated who were seeking asylum, but because perhaps of the color of their skin, they were mistreated. What can you tell us a little bit more about what Caricom can do about that?
Yes, Pearson, I'm glad you brought this up. This is something I wanted to highlight coming out of the last Heads of Government conference in Suriname, and we didn't talk enough about this. But you would remember that one of the special guests who attended that Heads of Government conference was the Secretary General of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States,
yes,
Mr. Georges Chikoti. He's an Angolan. He's the Secretary General, and led by Prime Minister Motley, there was a very important engagement with him about the issue of the treatment of Black and African migrants all across the world. Of course, at that meeting, what was most on the minds of everybody were those horrific images of what had happened at the border, the Morocco-Spain border, where dozens of people lost their lives. And we actually saw horrific images of Moroccan and Spanish security officers actually beating people lying injured and prostrate on the ground. And so that was the catalyst for this discussion. And what we said to the Secretary General of the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States is, look, your organization, perhaps more than any other organization, has to take up this issue of the racist and discriminatory treatment being meted out to Black and African migrants. And that was agreed. And we also said there's an upcoming session of the United Nations General Assembly in September. Let Caricom, Organization of African and Caribbean and Pacific States, and the African Union, let these three organizations, the member states of these three organizations, let us agree that we are going to go this year to the UN General Assembly and place this issue of the racist and discriminatory treatment being meted out to Black and African migrants firmly on the agenda of the UN General Assembly this year. So to me, this is very significant. It's very significant, first of all, that Caricom raises this with the OACPS, and that we make this resolve that we're going to take this issue to the UN in September, because we want to see that coordinated action between the Caribbean and Africa and so forth. And we also discussed with him the issue of reparations, that his organization has to seriously come on board with us and advocate for reparations. So yes, reparations, the treatment of African and Black migrants, those two issues are very much connected together.
Yeah, one would have thought over the years the stripping of the dignity of the black man would have receded somehow, but somehow it's still increasing, it's still happening across the world. And so that call is being made, yes, still for reparations. I'm hearing it more and more, even in the news, coming from wherever else in the world. But recently, Prince Charles, he made a statement about that because England has finally acknowledged there's a need for reparations. So where are we on advancing that, given that the monarchy acknowledges what has happened?
Well, yes, the good news was, and again, I mean, our Prime Minister has responsibility for reparations within Caricom. So she was very quick to point out at the heads of government meeting to draw the attention of Caricom to that very, very significant statement made by Prince Charles on the next heir to the British throne at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda. He was addressing the opening ceremony of that meeting. And let me just quote, because here's what he said. Very important. He was speaking about some good and positive initiatives that would bring resources to developing countries like those of Africa and the Caribbean. And then he said this, I quote, "To achieve this potential good, however, and to unlock the power of our common future, we must also acknowledge the wrongs which have shaped our past. I cannot describe the depths of my personal sorrow at the suffering of so many as I continue to deepen my own understanding of slavery's enduring impact. If we are to forge a common future that benefits all our citizens, we too must find new ways to acknowledge our past. Quite simply, this is a conversation whose time has come." End of quote. Now, this is very significant because you will recall some years ago, the then Prime Minister of Britain, David Cameron, came to the Caribbean on a visit. And when the issue of reparations was raised with him, what was his response? He said, "Get over it.
Yes.
That is done. We are not. In fact, what we would like to offer you, we would like to offer you a prison." He actually offered Jamaica to build a prison in Jamaica to house Jamaicans that they would be deporting back to the Caribbean, you know, and at the time we found this attitude, this dismissive attitude, very, very insulting, and our leadership, our political leadership said so. So to have the heir to the British throne addressing a Commonwealth Heads of Government conference and to say that he has now come to recognize the enduring impact of slavery and the wrongs committed, and that we now have to find new ways to address those wrongs, and that this is a conversation whose time has come, is extremely important, and it should not be glossed over. We need to pull it out, and we need to draw it to the attention of the world, because he would have made that statement in a very calculated way. Yes. And he would expect us to take up that statement and make full use of it in driving forward this issue. Now, he is speaking, in a sense, I guess, for the royal family. He can't speak for the government of Britain. So we know we have work to do to win our reparations claim, including work with the government of the UK. That is the Prime Minister and the ministers and the Parliament and so forth. But Prince Charles's voice is a very influential and persuasive voice, and it looks as if he is shaping up to be a very important ally in this fight for reparations.
Well, the door is open. We're going to walk right through. We will take what is ours, rightfully so. Ambassador Comissiong, thank you so much again for joining us and again inspiring us in these conversations on Caricom about what really truly is happening, so we see Caricom literally at work. So as always, thank you, and we look forward to next Monday's exchange with you. Thank you.
Yes, Pearson. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Welcome indeed.